Hi everyone, Scott here. I'm going to be the first one to jump in the pool with discussion question or discussion topic number one. This is not a comfortable format for me to be videotaping myself, and I will do my best, and I might hem and haw a little bit. I'll try to be smooth. So the first question about this topic that Professor Dimmick is asking is, according to Popper's definition of science, is communication studies, or the field of communication studies, can we consider it science? And in going through the debate between Popper and Eccles, they discussed a number of things, but when it came down to Popper's definition of science, let me see here, that the Popperian view of science is that the testing and falsification of ideas leads to scientific progress. In the readings that we had, especially the Comm reading about the beginnings of communication studies or speech communication as a field of study of itself, not involved with the humanities or other fields of study, when it finally broke out, one of the problems was finding theories or discovering theories with which to investigate and discover the properties of communication studies, and so they could be a standalone discipline. And so with Popper's view here that testing and falsification leads to scientific progress, I would have to say that the study of communication is scientific. There has been, in my understanding, my short time involved in communications studies has been that I lost my train of thought. Well, back in the early 1900s, upon the establishment of communication studies as a field of discipline, that since then there have been a great number of theories postulated and tried and found wanting, and also others that are postulated and found to be verifiable, which oftentimes is the criteria for something that is scientific, is that you can verify it. It's empirical. In the hard sciences, I know that if an experiment is done and someone can replicate that, someone can replicate the outcomes of the original experiment, then you have something empirical, you have something that's verifiable by the outside person or outside source. And so in that way, I think communication studies is a science, because there have been a number of theories that, and I'm sure that not having a great amount of history of communication studies, that these theories have been built upon and have been verified independently by others who are also within the same field of study. I kind of hashed that up a little bit, but that is the stance, that's the point that I'm going to take, is that communication studies is scientific, based on two things. One is the verifiability, which is kind of a standard measure, and the other is the Popperian view of falsifiability, that in order for something to be scientific, that it has to be, have to be able to prove it false, is the way that I understand it. The second part of another part of the topic one discussion question is, how, as communication studies scholars, do we deal with the three worlds that Popper puts forth? World one being the world of objects, world two being the world of consciousness, which is awareness of objects, expectations and feelings of pain and pleasure, and then finally world three, which is products of the human mind, contents of thought, theories, artistic objects, social institutions. As a communication studies scholar, obviously world three is often, I would say, where a lot of what we are going to be looking at is going to reside, because it's the contents of thought about the world as related through language is communication. And also that the third world involves social institutions, and if from a constructivist point of view, I might be jumping ahead here, and again, my knowledge of these theories and some of these things about communication studies are limited, that we construct meaning by our interactions, and Professor Dimmick talked about the intersubjectivity, the readings we've talked about the intersubjectivity. So we have objects, we use symbols to signify these objects, and we agree upon the symbols that we use for the objects. I think one of the things that Professor Dimmick used was the picture of the bear. We have a picture of a bear which symbolizes this animal, this mammal, and it's in an area where we need to be wary of it. And so it's, I think, the third world where we're constructing the social institution of this understanding of the symbol of a bear, and then we directly relate to the object and the ramifications of running into this object, running into the bear. So that is my initial foray into this topic number one. I hope this gets us rolling, and thanks for listening and putting up with my rambling.